Let's bring in Chris Harper. He's the CEO of Zipped Script. We spoke with him just last week about some of these Twitter layoffs. And Chris, thanks so much for being with us. And you probably were reacting to the news today, but do you think this was inevitable that Mark Zuckerberg had to do this? And do you think this was kind of a long time coming? Do you think this should have happened even earlier?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for having me back on, Andrew. I appreciate it. I think really what happened here was Mark Zuckerberg made a bet, and he made a bet on the metaverse, as entrepreneurs do, and some bets are risky, but they can pay off tremendously. And I think right now what we're seeing is this bet isn't paying off to the extent that he thought it would, so he's got to make corrections.
Yeah, and 11,000 employees, I don't know really what the broader makeup or the whole composition of Facebook as a company, but it is a pretty sizable cut. It's about 13% of its workforce. And these, kind of ran the gamut of what these jobs were, where the divisions within Meta, within Facebook came from. A lot of investors and people who watch the Meta stock had been wondering, how far was Zuckerberg going to go with massive, massive, massive investments into creating the metaverse. And so this is kind of putting on some of the brake pedals here. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah, I would agree, and I think there's been pressure from shareholders. But like I said previously, he made a bet. It's not working out, and I think what he's doing as a CEO, as a leader, is showing that hey, he's admitting that the bet didn't work out. I have to make changes. I'm listening to shareholders, and it started today with 11,000 people. Although I think they have 87,000 people previously employed at the company. So I think he's just going to get leaner and try to make up for lost revenue here coming up in the last quarter.
Chris, we've been hearing a lot about, especially, tech insiders, reporters who cover the industry, that, Facebook's users, average users on like a daily, monthly, yearly basis, they're dwindling and they're dropping. And so some are thinking that with the creation of the metaverse, trying to maybe supplant some of that lost attention put on Facebook as a whole, but it's not really taking off. And I don't know if maybe you've spoken to some of your contemporaries, but for a regular American user like me, how do I even get to the metaverse?
Yeah, well, first step is you got to buy a metaverse headset. So you have to buy the Meta headset. And for most Americans, that's not very cheap. You're looking at a retail price of $500 to purchase one of these headsets. And then to use it, you're going to need another device as well. Like I said earlier, I think he placed a bet. He thought people were ready. I think the pandemic had a huge effect on his decision making. I think he thought everything that happened in the pandemic with people staying online, using computers more than ever, being on their devices, being on social media, that this was a trend that was going to continue. A lot of people believe that, and what we're seeing is that's not true. Everything is reversed back to normal, and people want to be more in person, less in the metaverse. So I think that's what we're seeing, and the decision to lay off his employees is a direct result of him making that bet and it not working out.
Is there, Chris, do you think, a point in the future where the metaverse ends up possibly like Atari, if you will, or something, some obsolete type tech innovation that was really hailed at the forefront at the beginning as, groundbreaking and then really petered off? Do you think there's that on the horizon for the metaverse, or are they going to stay with this?
Yeah, great question, Andrew. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do believe there is a place for the metaverse. I just believe that consumers have to let us know sometimes when we're ready, and I don't believe consumers are ready yet. So I think time will tell. He's still got great platform, great hardware. It's there. It's just maybe it's time to focus on the core business, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, and really get back to basics here, especially as we start to see, the macroeconomics, rumblings of a recession, all this kind of good stuff. People are going to want to see profitability and lean businesses, and the stock market is showing that.
Yeah, and of course, Chris, obviously Mark Zuckerberg is a visionary leader, but do you think this undercuts his confidence at the helm of Meta, that he made this miscalculation?
Possibly. Mark Zuckerberg's an interesting character. He's really never lost. Facebook, he became front news in his early 20s. So maybe this is a wake-up call that, I don't always have the right decision. But I did read what he said, and he admitted to making a mistake, making the wrong bet. Let's see how quickly he can turn the ship around. He is Mark Zuckerberg after all. So I'm a believer in him being able to do something and grow the users on Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. And let's see what he can do there if he gets back to work with his core businesses.
And Chris, just before we go, I wanted to check in with you on, some of the Elon Musk Twitter drama. He's now taken over the company. This is, 2 weeks removed. He's initiating a lot of changes, some of those which are gone almost instantly because they get, blowback on the site itself. People don't like them. Users want them to change back to the way they originally were. And so he was acknowledging there quite transparently to some of the users on Twitter that they're not going to get everything right. Some things are going to be changing very, very rapidly at Twitter. Since we last spoke, what have you noticed about kind of the evolution under Musk's leadership here?
I think you just brought it up, and I think you brought it up perfectly, is we're going to see this man iterate, launch features, delete features live in real time, which is exciting and concerning for some people. But I think that's his core. Startup 101 is iterate, test, launch as fast as humanly possible. And if it's not working, delete it, try again.
All right. Final word there. We'll leave it at that. Chris Harper, as always, we appreciate your time, your insight onto so many of these big tech headlines, and we'll talk again.
Appreciate the time, Andrew. Have a great night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.